Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And boy, oh boy, we have an episode for you guys here today, so make sure you stick around for this one. You're going to love it. So anyway, going into this season, the Lakers were picked to be the favorites to represent the Western Conference. We all know this. That's why there was so much hype and excitement, especially after they signed Russell Westbrook. We all remember this. This was only last year. It's not like as if this is something that happened 3 years ago. People on the Lakers, some players on the Lakers were telling us here, the media and fans, people that had some questions about this team and this roster, they were there telling us, oh, you guys better keep that same energy and blase, 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 blah, 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 blah. And some people were so excited because they were ready to say, oh, this is going to be the season LeBron passes Jordan, blah, 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 blah. He's better than Jordan. Y'all wait till the week after the fact. It was all coming. We remember this like it was yesterday. And now, with less than 10 games remaining in this NBA calendar, the Lakers just came off another embarrassing loss to a less talented team and a less talented and a much younger team with less experienced team in the New Orleans Pelicans. As we currently speak, the Lakers are pitching a tent at the 10th seed in the Western Conference and are in total jeopardy of missing the playoffs entirely. Think about that. A team that went from having expectations of representing the Western Conference in the NBA Finals is now in jeopardy of missing the playoffs as a whole. And this made me think of some comments that Kendrick Perkins said a few weeks ago. I believe it was on ESPN First Take. Kendrick Perkins, in my personal opinion, has been doing a fantastic job over the last few weeks or months because this guy has been calling it like it is, and that's what I appreciate. I appreciate people calling it like it is and you just remove your emotions. I think that's when people are at their best, and that's what Kendrick Perkins has been doing recently. And he said, he made some very strong comments, by the way, on ESPN First Take about where he thinks this Lakers team could potentially end up if we're looking at this team from a macro standpoint in terms of in NBA history as far as disappointment. So for those of you who missed some of his comments, we want to play a little bit of what he said here, and then we're going to come back and react to this. So take a listen to some of the things that Kendrick Perkins had to say here in this soundbite. Take a listen to that.
I cannot let the Lakers off the hook. I will not let the Lakers off the hook. And I know I've been telling y'all I'm tired of talking about them, and I really am. But the fact of the matter is this. If the Lakers, forget the title run, being a title contender, forget, making noise in the playoffs. If the Lakers miss the playoffs, which they have a strong possibility of doing, they could be one of the biggest disappointments in NBA history. Period. It's nowhere around it. We're not talking about them making a run. We're actually talking about them missing the playoffs. With the addition of the play-in tournament, if they can't get into the play-in tournament, make the playoffs, I don't want to hear nothing. I want to give the Celtics all the credit in the world, but I refuse to let the Lakers off the hook. Not with this team, how it was assembled in the offseason, all the future Hall of Famers that came together, LeBron, Melo, Russ, and all this, and all the jibber jab, keep the same energy about these old heads when the season turn around. I don't want to hear nothing. If the Lakers don't make the playoffs, it will be one of the biggest disappointments in NBA history, period.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kendrick Perkins is beginning to look like a seer. He's beginning to look like a fortune teller because everything that he said in that soundbite is coming to fruition. I want you guys to take a moment and mull some of this information over that I'm about to give to you. Just mull this over for a moment. The Lakers have 5 Hall of Fame players on their roster. They have 4 top 75 players, and they have 1 player that some consider to be a top 10 or top 5 player in the NBA currently. Some people feel that. This is where your words come back to bite you. And the Lakers are in jeopardy of not even making the playoffs. When was the last time you saw a disaster as ugly as this in NBA history? Even the Kobe Lakers with Pau Gasol, Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, even that team was at least able to make the playoffs as an 8th seed. As the 8th seed. They weren't twerking it up in the play-in tournament. They were an actual 8th seed. Although they were an 8th seed, it was a massive disappointment. But Kobe played his tail off. He played so well that season, they were calling him Vino. And he was able to take the Lakers play enough games to help the Lakers get into the playoffs. And he went on an incredible run, and he showed you his mental fortitude. That's why Kobe Bryant, if we're talking about from a mental standpoint, and LeBron, he's in a completely different. You can't even compare the two players. Mentally, Kobe Bryant is on the wavelength of Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, and these guys. Don't even put him in a totally different stratosphere if we're talking about mental toughness. And he was able to lead that team into the playoffs before he tore his Achilles tendon, I think, with 2 games left in the NBA season against the Golden State Warriors, where he tore it. But Kobe played well enough to at least get that team into the playoffs. This Laker team, I want you guys to think about it. This team with 5 Hall of Famers, 4 top 75 players, and a player that some of you dweebs are still talking about as the best or top 3, top 5 NBA player in the world, have not even won 35 games. This team has not been able to win 35 games. I want you guys to think about that for a second. 35 games the Lakers have not been able to win. Think about this. The Clippers, without Kawhi Leonard for the whole season, and Paul George has only probably played 35% of the season, have won 38 games. And the Lakers haven't even won 32. Not even 32. The Lakers currently have a payroll of just 3 players that is already above $100 million. They have 3 players on their payroll that is making at least $30 million per annum this season. And they cannot make the playoffs. And let me tell you why there's no excuse, 0 of an excuse you can use for this team. There is none, 0. The reason why you guys, or some of you people that want to make an excuse for this team, the reason why you guys don't have an excuse is because of the Clippers. The success of the Clippers is exposing this team. Do you know why? Because there's no argument you can give that will explain why the Clippers have a better record than the Lakers when the Lakers clearly have way more talent. The Clippers haven't even had an all-star player for 50 games this season at any given time that played 50 games for them. They haven't had an all-star level of talent on their roster. The Lakers, on the other hand, have had Russell Westbrook for virtually the entire season. They have had LeBron James for a good amount of the season, and they've had Anthony Davis for a good amount of the season. And yet and still, this team hasn't even won 32, 33 games. This is the biggest disaster in the history of the NBA, especially when some of you dweebs out there were talking about LeBron is better than Jordan. If LeBron is better than Jordan, he should be able to have a bigger impact. And let me quickly say this to close this off. Y'all keep talking about year 19. The reason LeBron is in year 19 is because he came into the NBA in high school. Let's actually talk about their ages. Michael Jordan was 35 years old, and he was winning his 6th NBA championship. That's only 2 years ago. He was winning an NBA championship. You mean to tell me a difference of 2 years is the reason why LeBron can help this team do better? Just 2 years? And LeBron is playing with an Anthony Davis in his prime? And he still has Russell. Are you free? See, this is the reason why I will never, ever, ever put LeBron ahead of Kobe or Jordan, because Kobe and Jordan have never been in a position like this with this amount of talent and have under-delivered and not made the playoffs. The time Kobe Bryant didn't make the playoffs, go look at his teammates. Go look at his teammates that he had. He didn't have he didn't have talent. This was not the case for the Lakers this season, because going into this season, we were told to keep that same energy. We were told that this team had the best odds to come out of the Western Conference. So what happened? There is no excuse. Kendrick Perkins was right on track. This is the biggest embarrassment in NBA history. Period. End of story. It is the biggest embarrassment. And I'm going to say it if nobody else will say it. Some people I've understood come to our channel every single day. They hate our content so much, yet what they do is they sit back, they watch all of our videos, and they say, okay, where did he say LeBron? And then they run to the, you sure don't say LeBron. What the hell is wrong with you guys, man? If you don't like the content, don't watch. I'm saying it. I'm going to say, you know why? Because there are more people that agree with me than those that disagree with me, and that's all that matters. If you guys don't like it, you can go ahead and kick the biggest rock you can find in front of you. I'm going to say my piece because it's the bloody reality, and somebody has to say the truth. Catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.